here we are, Rich and Jess Living You podcast. We are
Back.
coming into a beautiful spring. Today is 57 and rainy. I will take it because it's not cold. So, Rich, top of mind right now, we've been talking about gas prices this morning,
Yeah.
4.10 a gallon in Oneonta.
Yeah.
We kind of think maybe we should start talking about the cost of things. Affordability is a huge thing we talk about when we do Market Mondays and just kind of look at the real estate industry in general. How affordable really is it? And, the price of gas factors in. So that would be our topic today. And Rich has done so much more homework and research and is so much more knowledgeable. So he's
Not the case
gonna
this time. Not the case
he's
this
gonna
time.
lead the charge.
We're just gonna let it rip. Um, no, but it is. Well, it's super in the moment, right? And we can kind of skirt the reasons why at least some of these immediate prices are increasing. But at the end of the day, I think most people who are living an everyday life in the U.S. are starting to feel the pinch in various things. I mean, and this is not new. Prices have been up for quite a while. I mean, we're gonna have little anecdotes throughout this, Jess, but I remember, like, again, these are little things in life, but I love to, I actually grocery shop. I do my own grocery shopping, and I'm in the habit of going like multiple times a week. I don't I don't have the bandwidth in my life to go and just do like one big haul once a week. I'm thinking, oh, I need this or that. I'll grab this or that, and then I grab a few other things. Anyway, just one of my things I like is Alfredo sauce. I like a nice jarred Alfredo sauce, like in my pantry, and so I was restocking, and I used to be able to get like one of these little jars for like a dollar, like 89 or something like that. Pretty typically up and down a little bit, and then I went like 3 weeks ago. The thick little jar was like 3.89. I'm like, why did this thing like more than
Right.
double in price?
My
That
Alfredo
blew me away.
sauce.
My like it's just a small example, but stuff like that is happening all around us. Yeah, and obviously with stuff going on overseas, we're now seeing the oil prices increase. So everything's a
Hmm.
pinch, and of course we're in real estate, and we hover in this world where we deal with both buyers and sellers. So we really do see both sides of it. Where you know we talk when we look at our data, we always see, especially right where we are, this continued price average and median home price continues to go up in a really healthy way, 7%, 8%, 10%, compared to a year ago or whatever. So on this rolling basis, our values are increasing. Now that's great if you own a home. Conversely, it's not great if you're trying to buy a home. And you couple that with those other things we're just talking about, the everyday expenses of life. And then a lot of people in New York have been hit with uh, highly increased electric utility bills this last year as well,
Right.
and everything is piling up. So we don't want to just do like a misery pod, but at the same time, it's very prescient for us to just realize that, my goodness, like the affordability index has been low. There is a tracked affordability index. It's just an algorithm. Either way, it's the data says it's hard to buy a home. Like that's what it
Yeah.
says fundamentally. But we can go into kind of the combination. Like as a how do we want to phrase this? If you're consulting a buyer nowadays in the market, how much do you talk about financial stuff? Does it come up? Should it come up? How much do you want to guide them? How much do you want to let them figure it out on their own? I don't know. Where do you take it?
So it's interesting. My buyers in the last few weeks have sent me questions like ask for the utility costs.
Hmm.
We had discussed doing that proactively anyway,
Hmm.
and then it landed on the consumer, where the consumer's like, "Yeah, can you find out, and also cell service, up here is a big thing if it's spotty, and how's internet and cell service." But yeah, I want to know the utility costs of this house as well before they even book an appointment. So I find myself doing a lot more upfront research on a property where usually it's like, oh, this works. Yeah, this looks good. Yep, it generally checks all the boxes. We're going to go see it. It's not. It's let's look at what work has to be done. If it needs a roof, we're not even going to look at it. I'm asking people proactively. Like I know the listing agent also can't really say like, "Oh yeah, this house is trash." But they can be honest. There is a property condition disclosure form that is now required. You used to be able to give a $500 credit as a seller, but now you really should fill it out. A lot of it says unknown, which is sometimes you really actually don't know. But I'm finding I'm downloading that thing, I'm sending it ahead of time before we even make an appointment right now, which I've never done before. So there's a
Yep.
lot more that's going into what is the home cost to run, and what are the costs of repairs, and what are the future costs of repairs before they even will walk into a house.
Yeah, I think that's well phrased. I think everything in life has, short term, midterm, and long term, scope of whatever concepts. But especially with a house, as a buyer in that moment, you've got to think, okay, first of all, can I acquire this, right? That's your upfront funding, whether that's a cash purchase, whether that's a pre-approval for a mortgage. By the way, the mortgage lender will look at the total taxes, and typically we don't go into like financing a ton, Jess, but when someone has an escrow payment, that is essentially the, not to dumb it down too much, but that's typically the what you pay the lender once a month. That's your mortgage payment, but it escrows in both typically the taxes for the property and the homeowner's insurance that you have to kind of get lined up prior to closing. So you pay the bank once a month, and they're then distributing the payments for these other things they're holding in their little escrow account, and they're paying them out. So the bank essentially, if they're doing it right, they won't let you get underwater by having too much house for what you can afford, but they'll let you get pretty close. I think, again, I haven't looked at this in quite a while, but I think generally they'll let you go up to like a third ish of your income, which again nowadays, with everything else costing more, if your income
That's
isn't
going to be
going up,
pushing it.
it's gonna be pushing it. So now I don't necessarily do a ton of financial educating with my buyer clients. Maybe I should spend a little more time on it, but I do definitely look at the taxes. I definitely help to try to assess the home for what I just said, those short term projects, the mid term projects, and then what is on the long term horizon. And then you kind of have to, everyone has their own mental calculus of, at the end of the day, does this particular house make sense given all those things? And of course, it's everything else. It's the intangibles. It's the setting. It's, does it feel right? Is it the right size for my domestic unit? Whatever their context is. But also, the financing has got to be one of those big, big core parts of the puzzle. I can't just feel good and be a stupid financial acquisition, right?
Yeah, I mean the monthly mortgage payment, like you said, is just one part of the story, and I think a lot of times people put a lot of weight on that. Can I afford that? Or sometimes not at all. Actually, to be honest, I've had buyers not even, they're more worried about the purchase price. They have no idea how the actual purchase price and negotiating up or down even 10,000, how that
Hmm.
affects the monthly. Sometimes really not that much. So they might be quibbling over 5,000, even 10,000. Sometimes, I mean, there's a higher interest rate now, but sometimes it actually doesn't affect your actual output. You're not paying them $275,000 today. You're going to pay
Yes,
that monthly. So watching that monthly
you're you're
should
paying a
should
lot
be,
more than that over 30 years. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And most people don't stay in their homes
yeah,
that long, but yeah, but I think they have to consider that really don't know a lot of times what that monthly payment is just based on what they're negotiating. But they should now. It should definitely be something we remind them to look at. Okay, so what's the monthly payment look like at this, offer? How did it change? How does it change if we go up 10,000? Maybe that's another part of it. And gas is 4.10 a gallon in Oneonta
yep,
right now. So
yep,
how much driving do you do?
yeah,
I think it is our responsibility, because I think you said that in an earlier episode. It's sort of our responsibility to be able to ask those questions. It's not our job. We can stay right in our lane and just worry about the house, but as you know, that's not how I do business. That's not how you do business. We try to maintain relationships with these people afterwards, and make sure that they feel really good about where they are and what they purchased and how they're doing. So it's important, I think, to feel a little sense of responsibility of making sure month to month they're going to be able to afford it.
yep. And it's funny how everything is so interconnected. I always think about, now that we're harping on gas prices a little bit right at the moment, but I always think about, like, who does stuff like that impact the most? I always think of the contractor. I think of that guy or girl with the truck that's going out, and they're working a 8 to 5 on site doing something, landscaping, roofing, siding work, whatever, fixing bathrooms, HVAC, and then from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, they might have two clients they're going to go and pop over and do estimates for, and then those estimates might be 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour from where they are all day, and they got to fly around. And like those people, there's hard working people out there, but those trucks are not inexpensive to drive. And I'm just thinking like that quote they give you, part of it is their costs to get to your property and then to get back home and all that. Um, and again, it's a tiny little anecdote, but I always think about that core niche of people, and that's when this stuff, buying the sandwich, buying the coffee, whatever, that stuff, like, it adds up. It hits the bottom line so much. I mean, it hits our bottom line too, but and we drive quite a bit, but
Hmm.
at least we get to somewhat choose our vehicle. Now, I'm not going to go into like a whole energy efficiency of vehicles tangent. I could, but those big trucks, man, they have big engines, and they big engines need big quantities of gas. So uh,
Hmm.
I can't imagine what some of those gas bills are like right now. As I
Yeah,
fill up my
and
my moderately efficient Subaru Crosstrek, which I love, but it's definitely not a work truck.
yeah, my Jeep is not efficient. Well, I got a
Subaru sponsor us.
2019 Grand Cherokee is not so bad, but if I do a lot of driving, I definitely feel it. And it was like $80 to fill it.
Yeah,
So,
that's hefty.
well, there was a few years back. I was still in Queens then. I don't remember at what point it was happening, but gas prices had gotten really high. I remember it was like $110 to fill my Nissan Murano. It was like 100 or $110. I was like, and I remember thinking, oh, it's $100 to fill up my gas tank. And I guess I just, from that point, haven't really checked in on gas because it just went down. So I just then wasn't aware of it. But I remember that being like a height of like, because I was in real estate. I've been in real estate 15 years. I've been driving around a lot. And in Queens, you don't go as much distance necessarily, but you definitely spend the time. Just idling, you can spend all your gas idling in traffic. But it was like $100 to fill up my gas tank. I remember that very clearly. And that does significantly impact. And then up here, we had the eggs were $8
Yeah,
for a dozen. It hits things, it hits random things. Sometimes it makes sense. You can kind of follow why it's hitting that. But everything goes up unanimously, I think. Even if it's just a little, even if it's just a few pennies or a few cents, everything goes up.
yeah. This is yeah, story time, but this shows my age, Jess, and we're not that far apart in age, but I remember I'm pretty sure I'm accurate on this. When I first got my license, we're now we're gonna name drop all our vehicles, but I was driving an old burgundy colored Plymouth Reliant K, a K car,
Hmm.
and I was filling up gas, and it was 86 cents a gallon when I first had my
Hmm.
license. I remember that, and I was like, even then, I was kind of like, I don't know what everything, the economy was obviously different, but I remember thinking as a 16-year-old filling up my tank, like, this is probably a pretty good deal. Like just thinking like like future thinking, like I bet this won't happen
You
much
would
more in
think
my life.
that. And
Yeah.
cigarettes were like $1.50, $1.75. Yeah, I remember that actually buying cigarettes for like $1.75. And then I remember having like $10 to fill up. I had a Honda Civic. I think it was $10 to fill up my tank. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. All right, so back back to the future or back to the present. So now that we're in this, we just talked about everyday life costs. We're talking about tax costs and thinking about utilities possibly. Now, in real estate, we've just spent probably the last like fully almost 3 years slowly getting mortgage rates to stabilize and to come down a little bit from when they had. Remember the good old days of the 3%, the 2.5% back in the late COVID era, and then mortgage rates did spike. They almost overnight they went up to about 6% or even 7%, and then there was a long steady period for probably 2.5 years where it was right around 6% for the most part, up and down a little bit, and then we had just, I think, like a month or right before this Iran stuff, we had just gotten the national average mortgage to be below 6% for the first time in like 3 years, and then whatever, like geopolitical stuff happens, and now I think as of yesterday it's 6.46% and looks like it's trending upward again. So
Yeah.
here's the thing, Jess. We are now. we are MLS watchers. Like we watch the market like a hawk. Every day I wake up, the first thing I do, I load up my data feed and I see what's on the market, what's new on the market. And there's a lot happening. It's popping off. It's early April. People are throwing their houses on the market. They think it's time to sell. This is what we've been predicting. This is the nature of a seasonal market. We know this. But what do you think is the real landscape of real estate this spring in upstate New York, given the fact that it seems like inventory is going to increase? People are going to put properties of it up, but buyers who are in that mortgage bracket anyway are, again, they're just facing all of this stuff. And now I don't have a calculator right in front of me, but you and I both know that every like tenth of a percent of a mortgage interest rate, that does. I know you just said that like a couple grand on the actual price doesn't move the needle too much, but also it does a little bit. And every
With the
tenth of a
interest rate
percent on a
higher, it does.
mortgage
Yeah.
moves the needle quite a bit as well. So the more you do these incremental increases of cost, it hurts. So do you think buyers are just going to look for lower price point homes, which is possible, but also we're still seeing homes listed at what we both believe are, relatively healthy, if not slightly unhealthy, like high price points? I'm just asking you, what do you predict? What's your crystal ball for the spring summer buyer cycle?
I have never had a crystal ball for this market. This market is so weird because, again, we have that whole second home market that
Hmm.
infiltrates the primary market. So we have all of it. I have very low end buyers. They don't have a lot of money, and it's going to be a struggle for them to buy something, and they're having a hard time. Like they're even like thinking about waiving inspection just because they can't pay an inspector. So the stepfather's going to come and inspect the house. So I have those people that are struggling because prices get pushed up every year, like we were saying, and the interest rate matters, and the down payment matters, and those things matter. And if you are a buyer in that situation, and you try to go for an FHA or government-backed loan, the house has to be perfect. Well, it's not, because in this market, $120,000 house might need a roof. It might have a lot of peeling paint. So there's that going on every day, as well as people that are in a slightly higher, the 375 kind of range, 250 to 375, people who have careers up here and they're moving around. And then I have a downstate buyer for $500,000 and, poking around in the same neighborhoods that these people are poking around in. So it's, and so that downstate money's real. Those people have money, and it's cheaper up here for them in comparison. Although I really haven't found that it's that much cheaper. I mean, rent is cheaper here, but I haven't found that, and houses might be cheaper, but overall cost of living is doesn't feel that much cheaper actually.
You mean like the grocery shopping model,
Day to
essentially?
day, yeah, day to
Yeah,
day, it's pretty
getting your
much the
hair done,
same.
whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's pretty much the same. I mean, I'm sure you can find, local businesses, which I do think we should find and we should patron. But if you go to like the big box store, you go to Home Depot or Hannaford, it's the same freaking price everywhere. So the question, what's my prediction? I think it's going to continue to be this wild, 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 wild north, not in the west, where you just have all these different factors at play, but everyone's going to get affected. So the second home market, if things get too expensive or things look wonky, in the geopolitical landscape, they won't buy. If they feel like something could be going wrong or whatever, it's a luxury purchase, so they just
Yep.
won't buy.
Yep.
So that I feel like then that at least that layer kind of could drop off if things really get weird in the world
Yep.
and too pricey. The luxury purchase comes right off.
Yeah. We don't want it to get too weird. Yeah.
We don't want it to get too weird. I mean, it definitely got weird after the election. A lot of people paused, and going into the new presidency, a lot of people pause. So people just always kind of wait anyway, like around elections and things, to see what's going to happen. So it could be another weirdo. We've had lots of weirdo years. It could be another weirdo because we have all these different pressures from all these different price points and markets, and people, what they can afford, what they can do. It's such a wide spread that I think we're going to continue to have all this weird pressure we've had. Prices may still go up, but inventory might still stay low. People are coming out, but they all, what I've noticed and in my small experience right now with just the spring market is a lot of sellers are they have to sell to buy. So your buyers are walking in with a property as well. Like, hey, I can buy this, but I have to sell this. So I'm seeing more contingencies, I think, than mortgages, actually.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting. Excuse me. It's interesting, Jess, because we've again, people joining us might not, we don't throw up maps and stuff, and if you're listening, you don't see anything anyway. But we're in this really, I love our area for a lot of reasons, and by the way, you should love your area, right? Wherever you live, love it.
mhm.
But the spread of our territory that you and I basically cover as agents has everything from a very strong second home market that's within 2 to 2.5 hours from New York City drive. That's a very doable drive for most of your New York City people that have saved money and they can buy a second home with cash. So that's a very, I don't want to say it's a core. Yeah, it is. I guess it is sort of a core pool of clients for our real estate business. And those people have, that's always like you just said, it's discretionary, that purchase or that sale, but also people are always doing it, right? So there's always people, almost without fail, unless we're in a real like hammer depression or something, but there's going to be people that they want to get away, they want their summer home, whatever the heck their model is, they're going to be able to do it. So we go from that on one like geographic corner, 2.5 hours, easy peasy. People are going crazy for those properties. And then we cover everything from probably 4-ish hours from the city where you get a lot less of that. That hour and a half extra drive is a clear delineation of price decrease, and just people don't want to do that extra drive. Now we have other metro areas, and we have other reasons why someone would buy in that 4-hour geographic section, but that does tend to be a little bit more primary home owners. And like you're saying, these primary home owners, again, generally probably their average or median price is lower than those ones I just mentioned. And if you own something, you want to buy something new, you got to sell the thing. And I was just having this conversation, and it's been the same conversation for years with a lot of people. It's, yeah, I would love to sell, but if I sell, I'm going to get a high price. Great, but look at the prices of the things I want.
Where am I going
The
to
things I
go?
want
Yeah.
are also high. And so it's just everything just popped up, and everything for us is staying up. There are parts of the country that hasn't stayed that elevated, but we're very much there. So my prediction for this summer, actually not mine, a lot of the national vendors and the Zillows and the Realtor.coms and a lot of the economical gurus of real estate are predicting for now, they're downgrading their predicted number of homes sold in the US for 2026 to be like 3.96 million,
Oh,
which is
wow.
a really
Yeah.
low a really low number. Like a healthy year would be
It's
about 5 million. So you're almost
right.
20% down from a robust like high, no, or not even like high volume, but a mid volume, a healthy transactional market where buyers are buying, sellers are selling, the train is chugging along the tracks. The train is slowing down a little bit. And I'm not
And we
too
can't,
worried
I don't know
for
that's
us, Jess. I'm not too worried for us because of where we are, because I think we have that buffer of that discretionary funding is still there. And excuse me, and we as agents, we just have to know how to, find the business, I guess, in a sense. But for people, right? For people, I think it's hard, and I think that there will be less properties sold, even though we're seeing more and more houses listed. That means our inventory, the number of houses available, is going to keep going up. I do think there's going to be a continued days on market trend. I think there's going to be a continued inventory increase, meaning buyers have more choice. Generally, when buyers have more choice, they get to negotiate a bit harder and they get to, talk you down a little bit or be a little bit more picky on what they'll accept. So I think it's going to be, I don't have any worries for me personally, but I do think it's going to be a little bit of, wow, there's a lot of houses to look at. Interesting, which we haven't had for a long time. We've had super low inventory. So I just think that's my prediction. I think locally it'll still be pretty steady. compared to the last 2 years, which were also 2 slow years. So I don't think we're getting fast in real estate anytime soon around here.
Yeah, and I think just to put in perspective, what did we do last year was what, the 4.1. They had been saying 4 million
Yes. Yes.
homes sold in a year, was a very low place to be, and they had kind of predicted that this year we'd be over the 5 million. People are going to come out, they're going to list their houses. And then obviously interest rates spiking up, and all the other things going on, gas, eggs, everything.
Electric.
Um,
Yep.
Electric, yep, that
It's
could
piling
that could
on.
lock us up a little bit again. So it's like every time I feel like we deserve a balanced market, it gets taken away. But again, I think there is no way to know. There's no way to predict any of this because it does seem like none of it makes a lot of sense anyway. It hasn't made sense. So it's interesting, but I think the message to drive home is do your homework if you're looking about buying. Do your homework, ask a lot of questions, find out what it costs to run that house. Make sure you get a pre-approval before you're looking at stuff. Talk to your lender. Have a good lender that don't go to Rocket Mortgage. I know this is like a national plug. Like don't like go to somebody local or go to somebody local in the area that knows the area. Just do a little bit more research, put a little bit more effort in to that, understand what your monthly payments are going to be. And if you're a seller, just if you got to sell, yeah, you got to get out there. Just it feels uncomfortable, but your home has to be in contract before someone is going to take you seriously as an offer on the other side. So it's tough. It's tough, but find a good realtor, interview people, suss them out, like we always say, and we hope everyone has a great spring market regardless, and that everything you need to do, you get to do.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Thanks for talking, Jess. We will catch you on the next episode, and
We'll see you
thanks for
guys.
listening.
Thank you.